Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show. Financial information for today and tomorrow. I'm Bobby Special K Kinzer,
And I'm Thomas Doty.
and we are the FITT Show, helping our people get their finances in shape. Yes, sir. We want to build them up, get it to your financial wealth, has stamina to subsist throughout the ages. Welcome. As we always say, knowledge is power. And that's why we're here. We hope you not only take in this information today, but you share with other people. So make sure you go out there on Facebook Live and share our site. And also YouTube, same thing. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. And we really would appreciate that. And the more that you click on the heart button and the like button and put comments, the better it is for us. So we want to thank you all for, as always, for being here. We want to give you our disclaimer because we're not financial advisors. We're not registered. We're just giving you financial information, and how you use it is upon you. But like we always say, you should also seek advice from a qualified or certified financial advisor. That is always good. So with that, thanks for everybody for tuning in. How you doing today, Dope?
Man, I'm happy to be alive.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely a blessing to be seen and not viewed, I must admit. So, Dope, last week we had a wonderful show and it was about combating inflation. And that was, got a lot of responses as always. But this week we jumping in. We've been hitting you with things for the stock market and all these things. But with all the inflation just taking off and cost of goods and gas and everything. This week, we want to talk about how to vacation to save money. But before we start off, Dope, you know what we like to talk about. First, let's give the stock market update.
Yeah, we talked last week about it. Seems like every Thursday the market would take a dip, but not a bad day today. The Dow's up over 600 points, 2% change.
Yeah, yes.
NASDAQ was up almost 600 points also. That's a 5.4% increase. And all the tech stocks did pretty well. Microsoft's up. This is week to week. I'm make sure we're talking week to week, not just today. But Microsoft's 11 points a week. Tesla's 61 points. That thing has been going up and down, up and down. It's really been crazy. That's a 9% increase for Tesla. Apple's up 9 points or 6.6%. And finally, Pfizer's up 1 point. That's obviously not a tech stock. That's a
health, medical,
healthcare, but pays a decent dividend. That's the reason I own Pfizer. It pays a pretty healthy dividend. So as we talked about for the last several weeks or the last several months, you can continue to expect just more volatility because things are still up in the air. You have good news one day, bad news the next day, and the market has been acting accordingly. Still thinking that inflation is going to continue to go up, but there's optimism that the Fed's rate increases will get it under control. Hopefully when July's numbers or June numbers and July numbers come out, they'll be much improved over the last couple of months where inflation has been almost at record highs. So hopefully things are going in the right direction. That's what we're hoping, but who knows?
Yeah, but it's all like we say, we in it for the long play, Dope. We want to make sure we stay in it for the long play. And a lot of people are worried about the market, but you just got to hang in there. So, Dope, I want to talk about one of my favorites, and that's cryptocurrency. Now, cryptocurrency has been taking a beating for months. I mean, it's just been going down, down, down. Market cap last week was at 899 billion. This week is at 999 billion. That's a $100 billion market increase, market cap increase, Dope. So, like we talked about how cryptocurrency works like stocks too. When the prices are up, that's when usually when people are. That's usually the time to sell. But Actually, people do the reverse. They usually buy. But when the market is down and people panicking, actually, we always say that's the best time to get in when it's low. And evidently, that's what's happening, though. All the people who probably got in like at 2010 and 17 seemed like they were taking out all their profits. And now a lot of people jumping back in because Bitcoin, which is still the number one cryptocurrency out of over 15,000, last week it was at $19,088, and it went even below $19,000. But today it's up to $21,695 per Bitcoin. That's a 5.5% increase just today. And the market cap last week was 364 billion. Remember, I told you Bitcoin was one time up to 1 trillion, half of what the market was. So last week it was down to 364 billion. This week it's up to 412 billion. Shiba Inu, which is that meme coin, that's up 8.2%. And the Dogecoin, and matter of fact, Shiba is interesting because it went all the way down to like number 15. Now it's all the way back up to number 12 of all the cryptocurrencies. So that's just a little update of the cryptocurrency market, dope.
How's your Ford doing?
Ford is down, but actually today, Ford is down, but actually today, Ford was at it's up about 5%. Matter of fact, though,
Are you up overall, or are you down?
I'm down. I got in at 12. Remember, I told you I wanted to wait until it got to $12 a share, and now it's at $11.65. Now it was down below that, but it's up, and yeah, it's up 5%. So I'm happy with that. And then my my semiconductor stock, NXP, that's up 4% too. And my General Electric's up 2%. So everybody's doing well for the market. Everybody got smiles on their face today, dope.
Yeah. I was just looking at Ford to see what kind of dividend they pay. It pays a 3.6% dividend, so that's not bad either. So
that's not bad at all, dope.
It beats any checking or savings account, that's for sure.
Exactly. So let's talk about this crazy market, dope, and the stress has been putting on people. And
yeah, it's really been crazy, and we've kind of been focusing on the market, inflation, recession, but there's just so many things that stressing people. We know COVID's still out there. We got shootings. We got police shootings. We got all kind of bad news going out there. And one thing we've always talked about is how a vacation can kind of regenerate you or make you feel better. And the problem is as inflation is surging, we think a lot of people may nix their vacation plans. And there were a couple studies done that said like 40% of adults may cancel their vacation if inflation continues to rise. And as we all know, inflation has been going crazy, and so it's you're thinking people are going to slow down in their traveling, but it doesn't seem to be that way. But you just get a feeling that a lot of people are going to say, I can't afford to take a trip. And so what we're going to talk about today is how you can maybe take a vacation and save some money while doing so.
Yeah, dope. But the interesting thing, there's no sign of people slowing down traveling yet. In fact, the travel website Kayak showed the domestic flight searches are up 78% compared to this time last year, right? And international flight searches are up 140% year to year, which is very interesting. So, we respect that, that the leisure travel will continue to thrive for sure. But while we may say prices continue to increase, I kind of anticipate, though, that they will, only be modest increases because these prices are, really making people second thought. But the prices, but the prices for domestic flights are up about 25%, though. So that's why I think it might slow it down a little bit compared to this time last year. And the international flights are up to 41% based on the website Kayak that does that those surveys. And hotel prices are up over 26% compared to last year. But the cost of rental cars, which were really, really going up though, they actually are down from a supply constraint, which was induced prices last year. That's what they said. And gas prices are up 38% from 12 months ago. So prices going up may definitely discouraging people from traveling. But as you see on these websites that be following this, there's a lot of people still traveling, though. And
Yeah, they are. I think there was just a lot of pent up demand. People had, kind of hunkered down and didn't travel for a while. But now that things opened up, I think a lot of people, you look at it, if you didn't travel for the last couple of years, you probably had a little bit of money left over. But you just wonder if the inflation that we're having, that people are starting to see in their paychecks and in their gas prices and food prices, and then you talked about the increases in travel costs, if that's going to slow people down. And Bob and I talk about how we always feel a vacation is almost necessary because it kind of helps you deal with all the things that you're dealing with, helps you get away and start anew. And you can go crazy if you don't. If you just work and never take a break, you can go crazy. So what we're going to talk about is something, huh?
And I just want to add, as far as that we are the avid travelers, because we go out the country and go abroad. And at 1 3-year stretch, though, in March, we went to London, and Christmas, we went to Dubai in the same year. The next year, we went to Barcelona. And at the end of the year, we went to Cancun and stayed at the Hard Rock Hotel. Oh my God, that was one of the best. We stayed in the presidential suite, and we're going to talk about it because we have Marriott points, and that helped us go into many places. Then the next year, though, we went to Madrid in the spring, beginning of spring, and then in the end of just before the COVID, in 2019, we took a cruise. We flew down to Puerto Rico and took a cruise on a 6-island trip from Puerto Rico. And so that's how we travel. I mean, we travel a lot. And I was, before that, when I played ball, I traveled a lot. But that's how, and me and Tiffany, one of the things we've done, though, we've been married 22 years. And I mean, how many more jewels and diamonds can I buy her? How many more socks and ties could she buy me? So what we started doing.
I'm not laughing at you, but
yes, you are.
True. That's even true on Mother's Day and Father's Day gifts, but that's a whole nother subject. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I'm saying we decided to put the money in a fund, right? So we'll save for trips, even Mother's Days and birthdays. Instead of buying, medium flannel shirts, we put the money into a pot and we save a lot of money and we put it to our trips. That's how we do it. We put it and it works for us that way, because I mean, I do get a lot of golf stuff, and I do need the golf balls. So keep that coming, honey, because they say old golfers never die; they just lose their balls. But anyway, so with that though, yeah, let's talk about something. How can we save money?
Yeah, there's a bunch of ways you can save, and first way I'm going to talk about is just when you book your flight. And again, this is just the stuff we're talking about is just on average. You can always find better deals, but these are things that if you don't have any idea what to do, they should help you be able to score a cheaper flight. If you're booking a domestic flight, usually about 6 weeks in advance is usually the best time to get a decent price. Well, international flights, you want to look about 4 months in advance. And like Bob said, prices are really going crazy. And if you can, you don't want to book in June and July because that's when everybody else is booking and you're tied everybody who has kids, they're trying to get all their vacations in during that time, and everybody knows that. So everything is sky high in June and July. So if you can push your vacation off to September or October, where the weather is still decent, you're going to find much cheaper rates if you do it in those time periods instead of in the summer.
Yeah, Doe. Another one, keep an eye on the airfare and hotel prices by setting up price alerts through these travel websites and apps. I mean, they're so good, and they will give you alerts soon as some discounts come up. And I know a lot of people, and I do that. I mean, well, actually, Tiffany does that a lot. But go out there and log on to those websites and download some of those travel apps like Kayak and ones like that. They become very handy. And you need to be flexible with the days of the week you can fly, because you could save a lot of money. For instance, domestic prices on average, what they say, are 13% cheaper on Wednesdays. Did you know that, Doug?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And they're 15% more expensive than on the national average on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you got to know when to book, and you got to continue to book. And one little trick you might want to consider too, if you're looking on, like, let's just say you fly with American Airlines, and you're looking on their website for prices. You go in, you put in where you're going, your destination, arrival dates, and all that kind of stuff. But make sure after you do a search, go in and erase your search history. Now, my son, who's much more of a techie than I am, he says he always goes on incognito, and I'm not sure what that means, but I imagine it's so they don't know who you are, and you're not saving your history. I'm assuming that's what that means. But if you are searching on like a American or United or one of the airlines websites, make sure after you search, because they save that information, and you won't get a lower price if you haven't erased your search history. So after you do a search, make sure you erase your search history, and then look again, and you may find a cheaper price. Another thing I found interesting is looking at alternative airports, and some areas, like flying my daughter lives up in Brooklyn, so you can fly into Newark, you can fly into JFK, you can fly into LaGuardia. Now I always check all three to see which one is cheaper. And DC has a couple different airports. I gotta tell you a funny story. When I took my first flight to Europe, I went to Italy, and I worked there for about a week. And Bob and I always talk about our friend Kevin, who lives in London. And I said, while I'm over there, I'm gonna go see him. And that was my first time out of the country. I'm excited. So I flew from Milan, Italy to London. He picked me up at Heathrow, stayed with him another week, had a wonderful time. And at that time, he was doing American football, so I was going back on a Sunday. So his wife took me to the airport, dropped me off at Heathrow, got there real early. And this time I'm ready to be home. I've been gone for 2 weeks. I'm ready to be home. So this is pre 9/11. So I'm in line, and guy comes up, looks at my ticket, and looks at it funny and says, "Oh, you're at the wrong gate." And he looks again and says, "No, you're at the wrong airport." I didn't realize that London had all these different airports. So my flight out was out of Gatwick.
Right.
And so the only way I was able to make my flight was because it was a Sunday, because it's about a 2-hour drive, and there was no traffic. So I was able to make my flight. But that taught me about alternative airports. And what's really funny about that story is once I started traveling a lot to Europe, I end up flying to 5 different airports in London. Just London has 5 different airports, which is really crazy when you think about it. There's Heathrow, there's Gatwick, there's Luton, there's Stansted, and then there's it's called City Airport, where I flew over on our company private jet several times, and they have their own airport for that too. So there's 5 different airports, and my knucklehead self, when I got there, I'm thinking I flew into Heathrow, I must be flying out of Heathrow, but you live and learn. So always look at alternative airports. And if prices get too expensive, consider a staycation. Get a nearby nice hotel that has a pool, and just to get that break, and you won't spend a lot on travel, and you can still refresh and regenerate.
Yeah, that's good, dope. That's good information. So, dope. We're talking about how the vacation and save money. Let's talk about the area of timeshares. I know a lot of people have timeshares, and me and you have partaked into the timeshares. And you can save a lot of money and through timeshares, but there's a lot of things to consider with timeshares. So let's just talk about timeshares for a quick minute, right? Now, the thing about timeshares is you have to be aware of the sales pitches. I mean, I remember, you know, how they schedule dope, and you had to go sit down for about an hour. They say it'd only be an hour, and it'd be about 2 hours, and they would tell you anything. But that's just part of timeshares.
Hey, Bob, you got to
Mhm.
take one step back, because first they give you something free to get you to come there. So
Oh yeah, don't forget about that.
yeah, you get something free. They've given you something, so you want to show up there just to get whatever it is they're giving you free, whether it's a $200 certificate or a free weekend trip. So
Or free meal,
yeah,
free
they giving you something.
excursion.
They're giving you something.
Yeah, yeah. Like my mother always told me, nobody gives you nothing for nothing. Something for nothing. But anyway, that's part of timeshares. If you and that's how me and Tiffany, we were willing to sit down for an hour and a half to get it. And some people don't know how to walk away. And they have HOA. Um, the HOA administers the maintenance fees and special assessments, and that's just with all timeshares. That's in generally how they work. So, dope. Won't you get into some of the? Let's get into some of the pros and cons.
Okay, and I'm gonna talk about the pros, but before I do, I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents on timeshares, just in general. From a pure economic standpoint, I don't think it's the best investment. But what it did for me, when my kids were young and growing up, we'd always talk about going on vacation. We'd always try to plan, but it just never happened. And then we had the opportunity to buy the timeshare, and since we'd invested the money in it, it made us be more regimented about planning our vacations. And so we took at least two nice vacations every year. I mean, we went to Pompano Beach, we went to Myrtle Beach, Daytona Beach, we went to Washington, D.C., went to New York City, went to Disneyland in California, Disneyland in Orlando. I mean, we've gone to some just absolutely wonderful, gorgeous places. And I rationalized it in my mind that I probably would not have gone to all those places had I not had a timeshare, because once you spend the money, you're going to try to get your value out of it. So again, just from a purely economic standpoint, I'm not sure it's the best investment, but what it did for me, it was worth it. The money I spent, because my kids have all those memories of all those fun vacations, and we get together, we talk about some of the times we've had, and it was always a good time, except for one. We went to Williamsport, and it was around Christmas time, and everybody got the stomach flu. And it was just the most miserable time. Everybody except my oldest son. He's the only one that didn't get it. But it was the most miserable time we can remember. But all the other vacations were absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to go through the advantages, and Bob will tell you about some of the disadvantages. And you can purchase. They used to be where you were locked into a specific week, and you always had to do that week. But when I think the one Bob has too, you can travel any time of the year, and you can go any place. Like ours is global; you can go anywhere in the world. And the other thing it did for us, having 4 kids, I would have had to get several different hotel rooms. But in the timeshare, it's like an apartment. You got a whole kitchen. You got separate bedrooms for everybody. Everybody got their own TV. You got way more than one bathroom. So it's just like getting an apartment as opposed to living in a hotel. And so, you can buy groceries. You don't have to eat out every meal. You can cook if you want to cook, or just buy breakfast food and eat out, or whatever you want to do. But you just get a nicer space than a hotel room. And it does make you plan, because again, once you invest that money, you are dead set on getting your money's worth. And so you're more diligent about planning your vacation, and you end up taking more. And the one I have, I think Bob's going to talk about the different types, but I have what's called Wyndham, and they're all in like prime locations. If it's a beach location, it's on the beach, and you're close to the beach. And at some of the other cities, like in DC, the one in DC is right in Old Town, right on the main drag in Old Town. The one in New York City is in Manhattan, in a real nice area in Manhattan. And so they do have prime locations. And I'd recommend too that you stick with some of the premier brands, like a Marriott. Bob has Marriott. I have Wyndham. Hilton also has one, and you're going to get quality accommodations and services. And they have things like the concierge service. They'll tell you, what shows are in town. They'll usually give you discounts on activities in the area, like when you're in New York. They might tell you get theater tickets, or discount on restaurants, which comes in handy because New York is expensive as heck. We were just in New York 2 weeks ago, and so there was a couple of places right around our location that they gave us discounts for, and that you go to Disney World, or give you, discount coupons to go to the amusement parks and things of that sort. So those are some of the advantages. Now Bob will talk about the disadvantages.
Yeah, and before I get into disadvantage, I want to share, because we had Marriott rewards, right, Dope, for as long as we had the points, but we also had a timeshare in St. Martin, right? So the timeshare in St. Martin was that specific time, and you always had to go to St. Martin, which was cool. That's what we planned to do. We did that for several years. Tiffany did even more than that because she had it before we got married. And that worked out. The maintenance fees stayed low. And then we bought into the Marriott Vacation, which is more than the Marriott points. And because we were traveling all over the world, and we realized one thing about Marriott, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the same service, the same clean rooms, the same up to date, current, furniture and stuff like that with Marriott's. And that's why and that Dope was like a deed. We paid some money for that. That was like a deed. We had a deed to this particular property. So that's what we did. And that's what worked for us. But I'm going to talk about that deed property in a minute. Because when we start talking about the cons or the disadvantages, you have no control over the maintenance fees. That's the biggest setback with timeshares, though.
No question.
The maintenance fees, they go up on you. They raise them on you, and there's nothing you can do because you have to pay.
Well, hold on one second, Bob. Let's talk about what the maintenance fees cover. Usually these grounds, they got several swimming pools, they got workout centers, they got all kind of gorgeous landscaping and architecture, and they got things like insurance and taxes and flood insurance if it's in an area that's prone to floods or hurricanes or whatever. And so you have all those things that have to be covered every year, and you have, of course, the staff that maintains those things. And so just like if you live in a subdivision that has a HOA administration, they have the same thing at these resorts through the timeshares. And so the maintenance fees cover all those costs to maintain and keep the resort up and running. And so those things can go up every year. If there's inflation, they'll go up. If they have years back, I can't remember the exact year, but Myrtle had a storm go through there, and they had to clean up a bunch of stuff. And so you have charges like that, which can all cause your maintenance fees to increase over time. And Bob said you have no control. If they want to raise them by 20%, 10%, whatever, they can do that. And so that's what maintenance fees are. They cover the upkeep of the facility.
And dope, I've never seen the maintenance fees go down.
No,
Never,
no, no.
never. The other thing, though, is there's no real resale markets for those timeshares, especially if if they're older timeshares and you locked into a particular season and you locked into a particular place. The resale value on those, which they usually in their marketing promotion pitches, right? They usually pump that up, like how you can pass this on. You can resell it if you want to, but that is not that easily. Then you have the special assessment charges where they can charge at any time a special assessment, which is a fee on top of the maintenance fees. And that can, it can really get costly. And it's hard to get the week you want. That's the other thing. A lot of times, depending on the program you're on, it's hard to get the week you want. And then the other thing is they change the programs on you, or which they'll reduce the options to keep you in the same level you need to invest more money. That's another way that they actually really, really get you, especially if you have older timeshares. They're always coming out with a new program where you can buy more points, where you can spend more money to get, more weeks or any more places. So you need to be aware of that. Now, Garnett Nickens, what's up, Garnett? She said when you rent directly from the timeshare owners, you only pay the maintenance fees. Ah, okay, I hear you, Garnett. She's like, just rent directly from timeshare owners and you only pay the maintenance fee. And that way you're not locked in. That's another good way to save. Good one, Garnett. But that's the thing with timeshares, though. There's pluses and minuses, and
you skipped one important point, Bob. That they're not cheap. There's a big
I forgot that one.
Yeah, you got a lot of money to pay to get one, and when you get in, you can, as Bob was talking about the different programs. For example, if you buy a certain level, of course, the higher level, the more privileges and perks you have, and the higher levels, you get more choices on when you can buy. Like with ours, we got into what was called a silver level, so we can book 11 months in advance, and you get other little perks, like if you book within a month, they have something open and you book, you get an extra bedroom at no charge and things of that sort. But again, it's not cheap, and it takes a large dollar investment to get, let's call it, a decent level of perks and services.
So dope. So like everything that we talk about when we talk about budgeting and planning, the same thing applies with timeshares. We know definitely vacationing and with timeshares, and we're going to talk about Airbnbs. But that's how me and Tiffany decided that we were going to get the Marriott vacation package, which was a very big price. But we knew that we were traveling twice a year out of the country, and we did the math on how much it would cost, especially when we had Melody or we take our godchildren, and we actually wrote down how much it would cost us if we didn't have the Marriott vacation package. And we saw that, if we traveling 12 times and then, 2 times a year in 6 years, we were way paid for our trips by having the Marriott vacation package, which was actually a deed, though. And so the resale value on the Marriott vacation pack, different than the Marriott rewards, it actually had a greater resale value because it was like a deed, and you can will it and pass it on to your kids, and that's why we did that, and it worked for us.
I'm laughing, Bob, because you sound like the salespeople. That's usually a pitch that they use. That you're going to spend the money anyway, so you may as well spend it on something that you're going to enjoy, you're going to like, blah blah blah.
But yeah, that did sound like I was convincing myself, right? Because I look back at that shit and go, God damn, we spent a lot. But no, it was true because we saved so much money. But the only issue, though, and this is the thing with if you're planning like that, and why you put the money down. If you don't do it, then it does not become economical, because if like for instance, we haven't traveled in 3 years because of the COVID. No, 2 years really.
Mhm.
2 years. No, going on 3. Yeah, it's going on 3. 2019. So no, it's 2 years. So, but we plan to get back to traveling. But that's the thing, though. If you travel and you do the math, do the budget, and work it out, because we worked it to the penny, and it worked out for us.
Yeah, and you make a good point. If you have it, you have to use it. And as usual, all we're trying to do is give you information. So if you come up against this, you can think it through and make a sound decision. Now, if I had to make that decision now, I probably would not do it. But I say that I'm glad I did, because I don't think I would have taken as many vacations as we've taken had I not did it. So
Right.
yeah, I'm glad I did it. So another option, Airbnbs. That's one that my kids use all the time. I'm more of a hotel guy when I travel, just because I like my reward points, and I'm a diamond member in Hilton, and they treat me real good when I go there. So, but my kids always use Airbnb, and they're cheaper than hotel rooms, and they always have more space. And especially if you have a big family, you have a lot more room. You can live like a local, so if you can kind of be right in the mix of what's going on wherever you're going, and it's perfect for long-term stays, because again, it's like staying in a house. You get a full accommodations, you get a kitchen, you might have a pool, you have more than one bathroom. It's things like that you get from using an Airbnb as opposed to a hotel when you're traveling for enjoyment. And you can set your search up to get exactly what you want, exactly in the area you want. And so those are becoming very, very popular and very, very inexpensive. Now, those are the advantages of Airbnb. Bob will give you just disadvantages.
Well, the disadvantage is high fees. Sometimes higher fees. Excuse me. And what you see may not be what you get. Because when you go online, and it does take it's a longer procedure. It's not like you go online, you book the hotel, boom, you got your place. Usually it takes some time. You need to get with the host, and sometimes, you have to go through a long discussion, and it takes several times to set it up. It could be a lack of privacy, because if you have a host that is there, then you don't have the privacy. And then there is the inconsistency of service, or you got a bad host, or you just got a chatty host. They like just talk and talk, but you're going to have to put up with that. Some of the little the pros, the cons about Airbnb, and there are no reward points. I get reward points when I do the Marriott, and you just don't get any reward points and stuff with Airbnb. But a lot of people do it. We did a golf trip in February. It was great. It was four of us guys. We had Airbnb. It was perfect. And the only other downside, though, of Airbnb, you got to clean it yourself. It's not like a hotel where you got a maid coming through cleaning. Just like being at home. You gotta, there's no cleanup like I usually. That's what I like about Marriott, man.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, we're gold members, so it's like top. But Airbnb is great. You can get more space, but there are pros and cons, as we talked about.
And let's talk about traveling abroad. As Bob told you, he lived over there for a while and travels over there extensively. And I did a lot of my travel on my job. So that's the best way to do it on somebody else's dime.
Hey, Bill, can you just share with us a couple of places? Like, no, give me 10 places that you travel to.
I'll give you in order of my favorites: Paris, London, Prague.
Prague?
Prague, yeah, Czech Republic.
Yeah, the Czech. Dang.
Yeah, we had our shared service center was in Brno, which is about an hour and a half from Prague. And I went and spent a weekend there. It's a beautiful city. Slovakia, Vienna, Austria, Poland, which was, man, that was the weirdest place because I went several days without seeing any black folks. That was scary. Same in China. When I was in Beijing, they were taking us to the Olympic grounds where they had the Olympics, and I saw a black lady like way over there amongst all these people, but we made eye contact and we waved like we were best friends. It was like, yeah, hey, what's happening? So that was kind of neat. Beijing. I went to Singapore, which is another gorgeous city. Kuala Lumpur is really, really nice. Prettiest place, Australia, Melbourne and Sydney are two wonderful, wonderful cities that I could live there if they weren't so far away. Brazil, the scariest places I've ever been was in Brazil. We went to Sao Paulo, and they told us, dress down, take all your jewelry, leave it at home, no nice bags. When you walk around outside, don't be looking up like you're a tourist. And so that just made me scared.
So that's interesting. My most scariest place was Venezuela. It was also in South America.
Yeah.
I don't know what's up, but dope. Speaking about that, I got my man on right now, Carlos. I always mess your last name up, Carlos. Me and Kevin went and stayed with Carlos in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
And Edacera, Portugal, one of the beautiful places we ever been to. And Carlos is on right now, though, believe it or not.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
In Portugal.
Yeah, but again, just one quick story about saving money. I was traveling so much that I got a lot of frequent flyer miles, obviously, and I was able to take each of my kids over to Paris, individually, and almost do it for free because I had a buddy who lived there, so I stayed at his apartment. I'd use frequent flyer miles for their ticket. And of course, I'd pay for mine so I could get more frequent flyer points. But it was, again, all that traveling, it did pay off. But let's talk about some of the tips that can help make it cheaper and easier for you to do when you're traveling abroad. And first thing you got to do is figure out, like, you know me, I'm the budget guy. Figure out how you can pay for things before you go. Don't because you can the prices can get crazy once you get over there. You got to know what you're doing, have a plan, a budget, and make sure you call your credit card company so they know that you're out of the country. They don't think somebody's stolen your card and they put a hold on your card. Why don't you do the next one, Bob?
Okay. I wasn't ready there. I'm ready. I'm good. Don't use. Go ahead.
You use a credit. Make sure you use a credit card that doesn't charge foreign exchange fees. And again, that's one of those little perks that you have to pay attention to what benefits you have, because a lot of credit cards, I say a lot, I probably have 10 credit cards, and I bet 5 of them charge, if you use your credit card in a foreign country, they charge a foreign exchange fee, and 5 don't. So when I go, I'll make sure I use the cards that don't charge a foreign exchange fee. And all that is, if you buy something for $100, they'll charge you $2 just to have to translate the money. Now, it doesn't really cost them any money to do that, but that's just another way for them to charge you. But half my cards don't charge that. So when I travel overseas, that's the card I use.
I got the next one. Don't use money exchange services. Use the ATM machines. And that's a big one. People don't realize that.
Oh yeah. And one of the good ones is try to adapt to the local time as soon as possible. When I would go to London, and even though it was on a company, I'd always want to keep my costs as low as possible, because that's just what you do if you work for a corporation. You don't want to ever waste money. And so I would, when I go see my buddy Kevin, sometimes I'd make him let me get a nap, because usually you fly overnight. You leave 6, 7, 8 o'clock our time, and there's a 5 or 6 hour time change. So it's like leaving at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you get there early in the morning. And you need to adapt to their time, because that's going to make your time there a lot smoother the sooner you adapt to their time. Because you don't want to be sleeping when they're awake, and you don't want to be awake when they're sleeping. And so if you can force yourself to fight through that first day and then stay up and then go to bed when they go to bed, it makes your whole trip much easier.
Yeah, the next one is be aware of thieves and pickpockets and what they call gypsies. Um, it's interesting. When we went to Spain, that was one of the travel announcements that they gave us, alerts they gave us. It's like, don't leave your phone if you're eating outside. Don't leave your phone sitting on the table. And I myself, though, I carried a money belt. I carried a money belt instead of keeping money in my pocket, and I kept it under my shirt. And you just got to be aware, and that's how it is, because especially some of these countries that are, struggling with the economies, and you go in these countries like Dominican Republic, and you go into out there to where the natives and everything are. It could be you walking around looking like a pork chop sandwich to some of these people because they know you're a tourist. So, you need to be aware of that.
Yeah, one of my buddies, when Bob talked about the gypsies, one of my buddies was actually touring around the Vatican in Rome, and a lady tossed him a baby, knowing he would catch it, and when he did, they were in his pockets, and that's the extent. And the only thing I'll say to that is, Bob talked about the DR. It's the same thing in Sao Paulo. You have such poverty, and if you've never been to a foreign country, you haven't seen this level of poverty. When I was in Jakarta in Indonesia, we're driving along this river, and there are people washing their clothes in this river, swimming in this. It's a level of poverty that you just can't even imagine unless you've seen it in another country. We do not have that level of poverty here. The poverty here, the poor people here got cell phones. Okay, poor people in those countries, they don't have anything. I mean, it's just crazy. So when you talk about, like, when you go to Europe, you don't have to worry about getting knocked upside the head as much as you do about getting robbed. I told Bob we were with a group of people, and our host was telling us how to be careful on the subway because, one, they're always crowded, and two, that's where the pickpocket hang out. And we got to our place we're going for dinner, and somebody had got his wallet on the subway. We thought that was kind of funny. Obviously, he didn't, but it just tells you their thieves are really, that's what they do for a living, and you have a lot of that. Most of the countries in Europe are extremely safe, and I always gauge how safe it is by if I see a young woman out by herself and it's dark, then usually it's pretty safe. But again, you don't have to worry about getting knocked upside the head as much as you have to worry about getting robbed. You never leave anything in a car because they'll break a window and steal something out your car like it's nothing. It's almost expected. So that's the only thing you got to worry about there. And the last thing we want to worry you about when you go internationally is check your phone plan, because your phone company will kill you if you don't have an international plan on your phone. And usually you can get them for like $5 or $10 a day, and they are worth it. The fees are crazy, but if you check with your provider, set up a plan, or when you go over there, turn off your cellular data and leave it off and just use your phone and Wi-Fi when you're in your hotel or when you have access. But I'd always make a mental note if I was on vacation, not if I was on company business, but if I was on vacation, I'd turn my cellular data off because I didn't want that thing to get jacked up, and they will kill you. So be careful of that.
Though one more thing I need to bring to people's attention, and this got me. You need to make sure your passport is updated, because what happened with me was we were traveling in, I guess it was May, but my passport didn't expire until June. So I thought I was well within the time. But some countries, your passport has to be updated 6 months before it expired.
Oh, wow.
And I was at Dulles Airport with my family going to Barcelona, and them mugs didn't let me on the plane.
Wow.
And so my wife and daughter, Melody, they went on ahead. And the next morning, only because I got up real early and I got to the passport place in DC when it opened, then I had to wait in line because you have to wait in line, but the people will have um, uh, reserve appointments. They go before you. So every time I got close to getting ready up to the counter for them to take my to renew my passport, a whole 5, 6 people would come in that had appointments. Then I go in the back line. I get all the way up. So I got there at it opened up at 8 though. I didn't get my passport until 4 that day.
Wow.
And my flight was at 7 p.m. out of Dulles.
Wow.
So you need to make sure you update your passport and know. And that's what made me upset though. I was with British Airways and they didn't inform me of this when I applied and for the tickets and stuff and put my passport. Now so I'm in Dulles and Tiffany had to calm me down because I was looking like that angry black man because I'm like, I ain't leaving until you get this straight. And they say, sir, you're not getting on this plane. Everybody looking at me, and I had to take that walk of shame or pass everybody. They
and,
put me out.
and Bob, that's the difference in traveling on business, where your administrative person checks
Right.
all those things out. And the other thing you need to do if you have a passport, you're traveling, make sure you have a copy of that front page of your passport and keep it someplace different than your passport, because I've never lost my passport, but I understand it's a lot easier to get a replacement from the consulate if you have that front page of your passport. So make a copy of it, and yeah, that's crazy. And the other thing you need to understand, and again, that's one of those things that my admin person always took care of. But certain countries you need visas to get in. If you go to China, you need a visa. If you go to Brazil, you need a visa. And that's in addition to a passport. You cannot get in without a visa. So, and the other thing you got to know, if you go to China, there's a bunch of shots you have to get before you can go. And or if you go to Africa, there's a bunch of shots you have to get if you want to go. So if you decide to go to an international location, make sure you understand what you need to get into that country and to get out of that country. And I say that because when I got to Brazil, they give you a stub when you go in, and it's 2 pieces. And I didn't know I needed to keep it. And so when it's time to go, the second stub is like your ticket out. And I had thrown mine away. So I had to go, they take you back to the little room and basically punish you for being stupid and throwing away your stub. But again, that's one of those things my admin person should have told me, but she didn't. But make sure you research what you need to get in the country and what you need to get out of the country. And also try to understand the customs of the country you're going in. And that will make your stay a lot easier. Like people always talk about French people aren't nice to Americans. And that's totally not true. They're not nice to Americans who go to Paris and try to act like Paris is New York. And so I would always try to speak their language. And as soon as I start butchering their language, then they automatically convert to English. But if you go up and you just start speaking to them in English, it's insulting to them that you think that you're in their country and you're not respecting the fact that French is the language they speak. So always try to understand something about the culture you're going to and have a good understanding of what they're about. And again, that'll make your trip a lot more pleasant.
And they got apps now, and I use the app. They got translator apps that are great.
Yeah.
So there's no excuse, but that's what I learned overseas, and it was with France though. I really didn't like the way they because all those guys in France think they like Pepe Le Pew, great lovers. But anyway, that's another story. But they were like, I was trying to speak English and ask for directions, and they wouldn't even, entertain me. Then I'd walk away, And I hear them talking in English to the guy at the bar. I'm like, oh, this is messed up. But what it was, Americans think that you're supposed to speak their language, and that's an insult. So
Hey,
go.
Bob, one more story. One more story. This is, I took my youngest daughter to Paris, and everybody knows I'm cheap. So I went in November because I could fly for cheap and everything was cheap. And that was the first year Euro Disney was open. So she wanted to go to Euro Disney. And we went over Thanksgiving. It actually snowed. So on our way there, we're at a train station. We go early Saturday morning. There's nobody at the train station. And I can't figure out which side of the platform to be on to go to Euro Disney. And there's nobody to ask. There's nobody around. And so finally, this old lady and this little boy come on the platform, and I'm trying to get her to explain to me which side do I need to be, which direction do I need to go. I couldn't tell by the signage. And she kept, no English, no English, no English. And I'm looking, I'm walking around, I'm looking. So we walked to both sides. Luckily, no train has come, so I didn't get on the wrong one. So I finally go back to this lady. I said, can you help me? Which Euro Disney? Thinking she would figure it out. And finally, the little boy says, I speak English. I'm like, why do you say something, you little jerk? And so I would tell him what I wanted. He would tell her in French. She'd tell him in French. He'd come back to me in English. And she got me going the right way, but found out he was living in America. Her daughter had married a French guy. Had married an American guy. And that's why he was there. But anyway, try to learn a language and figure out where you're going before you go.
So this whole segment you all was on how to vacation and save money, and we hope it was helpful to you. And we just want to give you some of the takeaways. Plan your travel in advance, because the more ahead you are, the more you can save way more money. If you definitely plan in advance, you can save a lot of money.
Yeah, timeshares have their place. You really have to look into it, understand what you're getting into, as Bob did, run the numbers, make sure you're going to take advantage of what's available, and make sure you understand what the financial commitment is.
And consider Airbnbs. Airbnbs, that seems like where everybody's going now, because it's more space. You get full kitchens, and you get a pool, and get all these things to yourself. And you just have to deal directly with the host. And a lot of people are doing Airbnbs, and it can be more accommodating.
Yeah, consider a trip abroad. You can find a way to do it where it won't cost you crazy. You can have a good time, see things you never seen before, and it really gives you a different perspective on something being old when you go and see like Notre Dame, and you see how long it's been there and how old some of that stuff is. It's amazing. It truly is.
Yeah, and lastly, everybody needs a break. And so, with the cost of things, going up, inflation and gas prices and airplanes and hotels, we know it's a lot, but consider it, you all. Try to save as much money you can. And once again, Dope mentioned this earlier. There's nothing wrong with a staycation. We still got some beautiful parks here in Washington, D.C. Go get a picnic basket and sit out by the water. You said that's not being in Beijing, but I mean, if your money's tight, you got to do what's right. Make it up, man. Make it up. But so thank you all, and as always, we want to give our shout out, because we really appreciate the people who take the time that come on and watch us, and we try to provide as much information and as many different subjects as possible. My main man, Rodney Madison, noteexperience.com. Go out there and check them out, y'all. If you want to learn about mortgage notes, Rodney L. Madison Sr. He said, hey, Dope, what's up? And we got Garnett, our wonderful Karen and May Stay. Good evening, everyone. Pam Hill, my college mate, wonderful. Pam, how you doing? Hope you're still on. She says, hey, everybody. And my wonderful sister, Nolia, had a birthday yesterday, dope. And me and her are the only ones still in our 60s out of my 6 brothers and sisters. And say hello to my little brother, Carl Chapman. What's up, brother man? And dope, Modestine, our other stalwart. Modestine, she said, good evening from South Carolina, South Kakalaki.
That's where I am. Where in South Carolina?
Put in the box where you are.
Yeah, I'm in Fort Mill, which is right outside of Charlotte.
Okay. And then we got Eric Cooksey. What's up, Eric? Glad you checking. He said he was talking about the cell phones in the Dominican Republic. And Yolanda Bowles Lawson. What's up, Yolanda? One of the top human resource specialists of America. She knows a little bit about human resources. She helped me tremendously. Thank you for all the years, Yolanda, you've helped me. And Tracy Royale, thank you, saying excellent advice. What's up, Tracy? Glad you tuning in, as you always do, and you're sharing the information. And so that's it. Thank everybody for tuning in once again. So y'all take care. We're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. The FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. Please make sure y'all share this information. If you have any other questions, or you have some topics that you like for us to cover, put them in the comment box. We'll check those out too. So with that, Dote, as usual, thank you, man. We are a team, just like when we used to be a team at Penn State on the basketball court. Now we on virtual, talking about financial information. Man, God is good, ain't he? So look, y'all, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week, and may peace be upon you.